kind of consequences that the people don't understand is that, and they don't link it to gratitude, is the idea like just your social sphere of people changes, which you learn to be grateful.
But as you do those things day in, day out, not only does it become in some ways easier, but it also becomes this mental habit where if you're not doing it, something feels wrong and off.
It's not innate in us, right?
Right.
Gratitude requires an extra step.
Yes, misery loves company, but so does success.
Absolutely.
Right? And I would tell them time and time again, hey, show me your friends right now and I'll show you your future.
Right.
Welcome everyone back to another episode of The Lighter Side of Heavy Things, a podcast where two therapists take some time outside of their day to kind of talk about various different topics regarding mental health and kind of dissecting them a little bit more and having some fun with it. My name's Chris, and I'm joined, as always, with Dwayne. But today, I know we've spent a lot of time the past few weeks kind of digging more into trauma and those sorts of things. But I know we've kind of mentioned and talked about, with Thanksgiving and kind of the holiday season coming upon us, right? That perhaps maybe we need to look at some things that would be very helpful. And one of the first things that came to mind is talking about gratitude, right? And what that is, what that means, and how do we see that show up for us as we work with our clients?
Right. Gratitude is way underrated in our world.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I am convinced that a lot of the mental illness, a lot of the sadness, a lot of the struggles that we have in our world right now is because of the 24-hour news cycle. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because there's no happiness on the news. Like, how could you watch the news and be happy?
Well, that's not only that, right? I mean, before, you had your Fox, your CNN, all that sort of stuff on the TV. But now you can't even escape it on your phone, right?
Right. I mean, it's always there. And it's because bad news sells. And we know this, right? Mm-hmm. We're attracted to sadness, it seems like, And I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing. Don't mistake my words. But I do think that it's like, it is us as a human being. Like positivity is not something that people comes naturally, I guess. Maybe it doesn't come naturally for most people because it's not something trained in our society and our culture as a large. It doesn't matter what culture you're in. Like in general, people aren't taught how to learn to show gratitude.
Yeah.
And the effects are obviously evident everywhere. That is my point of contest is the fact that if we could learn to be happy through gratitude, gratitude might lead to contentment.
Right.
And contentment might lead to so many different layers on like a mental health. Like take major issues in mental health, right? You've kind of got your depression, your anxiety, blah, 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 right? But let's broaden the picture. Let's take another 1,000 feet up in the air and look at it differently.
Right.
What are the common factors that lead into some of those things? Finances, relationships, things like that. Well, if we can have contentment within some of those worlds of finances, maybe we're spending less money.
Yeah. And I think it's important as well when we're talking about being content. I know I've discussed and talked about that particular concept with my clients before. And I've found that for a lot of them, you get the very pessimistic view of like, oh, so I should just settle.
Right.
Right. And it's like, no, that's not what being content really means, right? We're not just settling for this, that, or the other. It's being, in a sense, okay with what's happening or what's going on.
Right. But I mean, let's take Thanksgiving. You brought that up. That's coming up. That's mine and my family's, right up there, probably top 3 holidays.
Right.
We start planning our Thanksgiving dinner July 5th.
Yeah.
Then I can start looking at recipes for Thanksgiving.
You're just as bad as those stores who start putting out Christmas stuff.
I'm worse. August 1st, we're listening to Christmas music.
Oh, man.
And has to be August 1st because that's the worst month of the year for me. It's hot and miserable. I need something to look forward to. So Christmas it is.
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving, it came about out of the generosity of, those early Native American Indians, having compassion on, on the pilgrims that came over, not knowing, now this is not the pilgrims' fault. They had no idea what they were landing into, what the environment would be, but they were definitely underprepared. And again, this is not necessarily a political statement. I know that there's a hot contentions in this, and I don't really want to even debate that. Because any way we debate it, we overlook the gratitude and the humanity that was shown in the most incredible ways there. Sure, there were wrongs afterward perpetuated. I can understand that. But in that moment, you had one group of people looking on a different group of people that was different than them and said they need help.
Right.
And that was remarkable. And that's what that's how Thanksgiving came about, is that we need to be grateful for those things.
And, you brought this up, which I think is so important, is that idea of how gratitude plays an important role within our mental health.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with depression, anxiety, many of those types of disorders that we deal with, there is definitely oftentimes a large absence of gratitude.
Right. And maybe we should talk about what gratitude is, right? And let's define it so we can kind of understand it. Gratitude is not looking on life through rose-colored glasses and saying everything's peachy keen and great, right?
It's not having someone pee in your face and
say
it's raining, right?
Yeah. Is my mouth closed?
Yeah, right?
That's gross, dude. That's hilarious. But yes, it's not just saying, come what may and I'm always going to be happy. No. There is an element of grit that is within gratitude, but that is not what this is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like to see gratitude not only as something that we notice, but also it's learning as well.
It's not innate in us, right?
Right.
Gratitude requires an extra step. It requires us to see one good thing that happened. Like a small one. This remarkable woman, I believe her name was Trudy. I'm going to totally give her a name call out here. Yeah. I wish I had a last name, Trudy. You were awesome. And I don't know if you'll ever say it because we're small, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But her name deserves to be held in honor out there. So I don't know what day of the week, I'm time blind, but someday this week, Sarah and I were up north with the girls. We had to go doctor's appointment and all this stuff, and then we needed to drop a package off, but we got away late because of school. So we couldn't drop the package off at this UPS store. We went up north. We were hoping to leave earlier, but things, again, life happens, right?
Yeah.
So we're driving back south to Payson, and we were like, our Google Maps was looking at it and saying we were going to be about 7 minutes late. And I was like, oh man. And I was like, Sarah, let me just call the store and see what they would do. Our packages were all ready, right?
Right.
And call, Trudy answers and says, and I told her, I said, we have been traveling everywhere. If we could just drop these off, it would be huge. Because we live further south than Nephi, that would save us about an hour of our time tomorrow if we could do that.
Right.
And she says, if you can get here and you can show me that you have the packaging and everything's all ready to go, I'll let you in. Right? But she says, we usually have a very hard stop at 6:30. We showed up, 6:33. We got out. She let us in, we handed away, and she waved us goodbye. But I mean, that little act of small kindness that she didn't need to do made a difference.
Yeah.
And, gratitude, looking for little things like that It might be that's a big one in my mind, but there's also little ones that will show up in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude is so protective. It fuels the fire that's in us.
Yeah, and something that I think is really interesting about your story, you mention how big it was for you, but I wonder how little that felt for her,
Right.
right? And how often sometimes, what may feel like something small is actually big.
Yeah.
And it all depends on someone's perspective.
Absolutely. And so we don't have to look to do big things to make a difference in a world, but having that ability to see the goodness in the world.
Uh-huh.
Now, why is it protective? Is because then it gives us hope.
Yeah.
Right? It fuels it. What is depression? It's hopelessness. It's, powerlessness. It's emptiness. It's dark, right?
Yeah. Anxiety, you're consistently worried for the next bad thing.
Right.
Right? Because that's all that you're focused on.
Right. Everything's exaggerated. It's like everything that's this big is this big, and then you're like, uh-oh,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's all those issues. But if you have gratitude and you're training your brain to be grateful for those things and looking at those things that happen,
Mm-hmm.
what a protective factor against both of those. Because if you're thinking everything's dark and then all of a sudden you have this little ounce of gratitude show up in your life.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? Someone said something nice to me. Or this young woman walked down the hall and smiled at me. Or, my teacher complimented me on my hard work. And said, I see that you're trying.
Yeah.
Or, gratitude for the athlete who has put hours and hours and hours of their day, their lives into their practice, their goals, their sport, whatever it is. Clearly, I'm an athlete, and they succeed.
Right.
And they're grateful for the coaches, the parents, the families that are there.
And as you talk about gratitude, I like how you use the word train, because that can easily be a similitude of what we recognize when it comes to physical training, right? You just don't walk into a gym and you get healthy or you get fit, right? There is actual daily effort that is required for those things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to cause at times a little bit of pain, maybe even as you are growing, stretching those muscles, those things maybe that you haven't used the way that they should have been used.
Right.
But as you do those things day in, day out, not only does it become in some ways easier, but it also becomes this mental habit where if you're not doing it, something feels wrong and off.
Right.
So being able to be grateful and to be looking for those things that we, are positive in our life, that can really make a large difference, but it takes time to be able to get there.
Mm-hmm. It takes time to start learning to see it.
Uh-huh.
Now people think, well, I don't have that amount of time, but it's not the time that people overlook the small and simple things that are in their way that can make their life better.
Mm-hmm.
They negate that.
Right.
They say that those things don't matter. The big things that make a difference in this world are not big things.
Mm-hmm.
It is the small things done over time consistently. The Grand Canyon was not formed in one event.
Right.
It was formed over millions of years as a result of many thousands of volcanic eruptions that dammed up the river until the river finally overflowed the dam, and then it caused a process of erosion.
Yeah.
It was very slow efforts. It is not big efforts that make the difference. So gratitude can have an instant reward in our lives. What could it look like? It takes like 5 minutes a day. Sit down at your table. Talk with your kids, your partner, your spouse, your family,
Mm-hmm.
your friends, your roommates. It doesn't matter. And look for something that happened in your day that someone was there for you in a meaningful way. Or something happened unexpectedly that was good. You train your mind on a 3-minute, 5-minute a day diet of that.
Uh-huh.
Over time, it's going to add up. But along the way, just like exercise, you're gaining benefits every time you do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I've done quite a bit of work in regards to the world of addictions, working with a lot of people in recovery. And I would often encourage them to take time to be grateful and notice what it is in life that they enjoy, right? A lot of that is due to the fact that, with addiction, it's very easy to be able to find what's wrong, what not to have that excuse to use.
Right.
To numb, to, fuel that depression, that all those things that they're dealing with. But I found for those who were successful in their recoveries, it's because they trained themselves to be able to find something in their day that they are grateful for, that keeps them moving forward. And, for some guys, I even remember some of them having just the thing that they were grateful for that day is, I woke up and I was alive.
Yeah.
I didn't wake up and find out that my friend in the next room is dead. Like, those sorts of things were what helped them be able to see life isn't all that bad.
No, absolutely. I've worked my share of addictions, and especially early on in my career, and sometimes just saying, "Hey, I woke up and I'm safe."
Yeah,
I can breathe.
Yeah, and I had some guys that would tell me, I have $5 in my pocket right now.
Yeah,
that's more money than I've had in my pocket in a long time.
Yeah, those simple things add up, and they build up, and they buffer us against the torrents of it. But we're talking about a lot of mental health, but gratitude has, its impact is probably unmeasurable. But we know that gratitude affects our physical health. Our hearts are better.
Yeah.
Our intestines, our digestive tract work better.
Yep.
Gratitude brings, I think the natural outpouring of gratitude is contentment. The idea that I don't have to run the rat race the same way everybody else is. Because I'm grateful for what I have.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's important to mention, as you're saying, there's all these benefits that come from gratitude and to how it affects us mentally, but also physically as well. And it's important to notice that as you feed into your system those important positive things, the more positive outcomes you're going to likely have later on in life because of that, right? If you are, for example, taking care of your physical well-being, exercising, reading, or doing those mental stimulating types of activities, or those things, we have studied and have seen much better outcomes for people as they get older. What happens by forming those small daily habits? And if they don't, well, bad things often end up happening.
But what's the kind of consequences that the people don't understand is that, and they don't link it to gratitude, is the idea like just your social sphere of people changes once you learn to be grateful.
Yes.
You start to repel the doubt in the world, like whining, complaining. That starts to become toxic to you, and you're like, I don't want to be around this.
Right.
So then you start your social sphere starts changing with people, and you start attracting people who want it. Now you're going to get leeches, right? People who are like, you don't understand, like, yeah, whatever. But those people can't last if you stick true to your principles of being gratitude. You're going to attract the best people to you, and you're going to say, wait, the world's not as dark as everybody wants me to believe.
Well, and I would always, again, coming back to my work that I did in addictions with some of these guys, mentioning to them, yes, misery loves company, but so does success.
Absolutely.
Right? And I would tell them time and time again, hey, show me your friends right now and I'll show you your future.
Right.
And that, it was interesting because being able to work with some of these guys over, at times, over the course of a year or longer, it was interesting to see them. I had a few of them. Well, I'll show you, right? Like,
Right.
I'm going to prove you wrong. And they ended up proving me right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was because they stuck with the same friends and they continued to fail in their sobriety again and again and again, and they wouldn't change that, or else they said, well, I'm going to go surround myself with the people who I want to be like. And they did. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is easier to keep this positive or healthy mindset because that's what I'm surrounding myself with.
Right. And that could be on your social media, that could be on everything, right? And speaking of that, it reminded me of this story. Sarah showed me. It was a reel, and I'll see if we can't find it. And we can put it in the description, the more part. But it was a reel of this officer who pulled over this woman who was not very nice. She was a little ornery, and I've watched it as we were talking about this. I watched this reel, and I was thinking, man, this guy, what made this guy different? So the officer pulled him up. He noticed something. He finally just became human with her. Said, "Everything okay?" And she started saying no, and then started crying. He says, "Would you like a hug?" And she got out of the car and gave him a hug. And this is a woman, mind you, who has never had a good interaction with officers before. Right? And she told him that she was just having a rotten day, that she was just driving crazy, that she was thinking about using again. And he says, no, we can do this. And this was all during the hug. And it was really touching. And then they did like a year follow-up, little interview on that reel. And it was amazing. And she's like, I'm sober today because of him.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, again, to him it was a hug. To him it was a simple question, are you okay? It was him being human. But I think he was able to see that because he had gratitude in his heart.
Yeah.
It softens the heart. He's not like everybody else who sees somebody who's angry and says, man, what a douchebag.
Yeah. What a jerk.
Right? Like, God, let's go tase him because he's a jerk.
Yeah, who's spitting their oatmeal?
Yeah, he's like, it's much more of a, compassionate. Again, another thing I think gratitude brings in our lives is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Compassionate man that could see something in this woman.
Yeah. And you bring in something that I know we've kind of been dancing around it a little bit, is that gratitude not only is this idea of looking for these things in life, but also being proactive and an actor of gratitude as well.
Yeah.
There's so many times I've had people mention to me, it is so hard to try to find the good in my life. And I've turned it around and challenged him, well, why don't you try being the good then?
Yeah.
And, if that's what it takes for you to be able to begin your journey of gratitude, then take it, right? If you feel like I don't see much in my life that I'm grateful for, well, maybe you can be that person to provide some sort of opportunity for gratitude for someone else, right? Being of service, like you mentioned, Trudy, all these different, this officer and whatnot, where you can notice something, and even though it might seem small, maybe it feels like a little bit of an inconvenience or something like that, but those can be the big things that can change someone in their life.
Yeah, I agree. Gratitude is something that is exercised. That is something we have to find and hold on to. Even if it is today, I got to breathe. Today, I don't know. I didn't yell at my kids.
Yeah.
Today, someone smiled at me, acknowledged me.
Right.
Seeming insignificant. Today, I didn't use. Today, I exercised when I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude in those little steps it strengthens you so much, but it brings out so much good. It allows us to be human. It allows us to not be brought down. To me, pessimism's easy.
Oh yeah.
It's easy to be, the armchair quarterback, right? And you're like, how come, you idiot? Why'd you throw it there? It's like, that's easy.
It's easy to feel like a victim, isn't
it? It's easy to feel a victim, but it also comes out, we're not born pessimists.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is. I mean, I have seen children in the most impoverished situations, and they can find a rock and have the best time with a rock.
Yeah.
They are naturally, as children, we are easy to forgive, quick to laugh, quick to see good. It is through our interactions that starts to wear us down.
Yeah.
And pessimism, and then who we allow into our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be news agencies or, whoever. But if we can look at opportunities, this is why I have a passion for studying business and investing and things like that. Because I could see the optimism. Business people are optimistic people.
You're kind of forced to be, aren't you?
Well,
if you want to be successful.
They see opportunity where other people don't. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Henry Ford, that man was an incredible genius, but he was an optimist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when he built the V8 machine, he had his company build it. For, I think it was 3 years straight, the V8 engine. 3 years straight, his engineers told him it was impossible. He says, no, it's not. Keep learning. Keep learning. And then they did it. And he's like, good, we did it.
Yeah.
They just didn't have enough knowledge yet to build it. And that's what he understood. And it was optimism that pushed him through.
Right. It's kind of like Edison and the light bulb.
Edison and the light bulb. I mean, Benjamin Franklin and, he was called upon to help bring the South back during the Constitutional Convention. He was our nation's first anti-slavery individual.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he was so beloved by the South that when he spoke to them, they listened.
Yeah.
Because they knew his goodness, his heart. He was one of the most gracious and grateful people.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think gratitude needs to come differently. If I was to say there's an area that I think, in general, people really ought to look at more seriously, is grateful for those who have come before, our ancestors. Like Sir Isaac Newton said, that we stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before, right? Yeah. We see what we see because of every sacrifice people have gone before. And I find in our world that it is so easy for us to be pessimistic about them. Right? And be, God, how could they own slaves? Now, I'm not justifying slavery. I would say it's vile, evil, blah, blah, blah. But again, this is not political commentary. But I honestly believe they did the best they had with the knowledge they had.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think they were perfect individuals? Absolutely not. But they were people who fought for a better world. Gratitude in that area, my parents, were they perfect? Absolutely not, but I honor them. Because they did the best they could.
Mm-hmm.
And it is selfish of me, and it is selfish of anybody else to dismiss the best they could.
Right. And I think that that's important to recognize, and I'm sure will be something that we can talk about in another episode, but that idea of compassion, right? Because being able to be grateful, especially for those who have come before us, does require a great deal of compassion. Like, I think, for example, for myself, growing up the way that I did with my dad, there were definitely a lot of things that he got wrong, that he didn't do right. Things that I'm sure that if he did currently that he did back then would get him into a lot of trouble. Right. And but it's important as well to consider where he came from and what was his upbringing, right?
Absolutely.
Being raised the way that he did, with, for example, an alcoholic father, to having individuals within his life that continually in certain ways brought him down or made him feel like there wasn't anything more to do or to give in life. And I'm grateful, though, for what my dad did and being willing and able to break out of that poverty cycle that he was in, to be in some ways optimistic in what he could accomplish in life, right? Now, sure, I could play the victim. I could say, well, he didn't do everything right. He caused these problems for me and it led to these issues that I'm dealing with currently. But you know what? I would much rather be in the position I am today than if he just decided to be a pessimist and stay where he was.
Our parents parented based off of their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents parented based off of their learning experiences. We parent based off of our learning experiences.
Right.
Each generation, the beautiful part of generations is that each generation can get a little bit better. I pray that my girls are better than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that they can raise their kids, my grandkids, that in a healthier, happier way than I provided. And I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
But gratitude, as you said, if we grateful, like I've worked with some of the most horrific traumas, right?
Right.
But it's interesting, many of those clients, as I've worked with them through their horrific traumas, through no outcoming of me, an offspring of being able to let go of some of that, was they started to see the little things that they were grateful for in their growing up years.
Yeah.
The little things. What that does is so protective. Because if I expected my parents to be perfect, and I'd have no gratitude, then I'm automatically putting this perfectionist mentality on my shoulders. I have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But if I learn to have gratitude, then I can help take that off my shoulders and offload it and say, I don't have to be perfect. If they didn't, I did it.
Yeah.
And it's all psychological.
Mm-hmm.
The gratitude is really the what do you call that? The
foundation?
The foundation, but the I can't think of the spring.
Fountain
the head,
of
the
youth?
fountain. No, yes. I would be young looking if I had that. I'm grateful for everything. No, but the kind of the beginning of the river, the spring, the wellspring.
Yes.
Of it, right? Of so many protective factors against the ills, the vials, the sadness, the depression of our day.
Yeah.
Gratitude for what people have done in our lives, for those who've gone before. But dare I also say it, there's a piece that needs to be here that I would be completely wrong if we didn't say this. Gratitude to God.
Mm-hmm.
I know people don't want to talk about spirituality, but I mean, look in the last probably about 60 years, maybe a little bit more than that. God was not ever at odds with science in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
God was very much a part of the scientific exploration. People will want to come and argue with me, and they can, but I don't care, because I've done my research. I know this stuff. If we have a different opinion, that's fine. But God was always part of the pursuit. He's oftentimes talked about as the infinite intelligence in some cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our founding fathers pled to God. All cultures had a God figure in their lives, right? But God was always there, a very impactful part. Gratitude for Him is also a very important part of this.
Yeah.
Faith in and of itself. People call faith weakness. Well, they're fools. because it is easier for me to believe in to not believe in something I cannot see than for me to believe in something I can't see at all.
Mm-hmm.
If I could see it, it's easy to believe. I know this table's here because I see it. I could touch it. But to
Right.
have faith that it is there requires another level of muscle. That is something that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Faith and belief in God is a very protective factor, but it is a wellspring that comes from gratitude too.
Mm-hmm.
To see that things are not an accident, right?
Right.
But look at our science pursuit. 50, 60 years ago, we started to deviate and say they can't be there. I believe in science. Now people want to believe in emotion over science. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to believe in scientific principles. Look at the path that has brought us as a country, as a people. But yet God is still there. There are things, people try to argue this. I mean, people, we every time we make a discovery in science, we realize we have at least 10 or more questions that we realize, well, we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
We have faith in science. You have faith in something that is nothing that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people can't understand why when you turn on the light switch, light comes on. Well, electricity. Well, what is electricity?
Yeah. Describe it. Explain it.
Explain it.
Yeah.
But gratitude toward God, gratitude toward what our ancestors thought they were doing was right.
Mm-hmm.
As they learned, and when they learned, they adapted. Gratitude for the hard work they did.
Yeah. And I think that kind of wraps in a lot of the ideas surrounding gratitude, that for many people, they look and they think about it, and because it is something that feels difficult, hard to do, or I can't see the results, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it because I can see the bad things that are happening in
Right.
my life. And, you know, it takes training to be able to get there. You know, as we mentioned with the physical stuff, it is so much easier to spend your day sitting, watching TV, eating your bag of Doritos, your Twinkies and all that, than getting up, going to the gym, or doing some sort of physical act to better yourself.
Last night, my aunt and uncle from New Orleans were in town, and we made dinner for them and with my parents. And my uncle is like fit, like he's almost 70, and like that guy could probably climb, Mount Kilimanjaro. Like guy is,
Yeah.
he's like, and my aunt Sophie, she's like very like, you go to the walking, and then you go to the gym, and you lift weights or bike. Or like, I said, some people like to go to the gym. I like to work.
Yeah.
I'd rather work. And work is bad because like I sit down all day. But you're absolutely right.
And, I think if you have any questions about whether or not you can practice gratitude, it comes back to that idea, for some people, they feel like if I'm going to be fit or I'm going to be good at this thing, they almost want it to, it just has to happen to me right away.
Yeah.
But for people who begin their journeys, they're not starting being able to run 6 miles in 45 minutes or being able to bench 225 pounds the first time.
Right.
Or squat 400 or whatever it might be. They have to work up to that.
Yes.
And that's the same with gratitude. If you want to be a grateful, optimistic type of a person and be able to feel those positive things that come from it, to not be depressed anymore, to not be anxious, well, maybe sometimes just starting and noticing those small things are going to be what makes the bigger difference for you.
And then persevering when the heaviness comes, because that inevitably with weightlifting, with body training, I mean, I used to run a lot, you always plateaued.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could push through that plateau and not give up and become discouraged, and keep doing the things, then eventually you get the breakthrough, right? Similarly with gratitude. At some point in the beginning, you'll see it immediately. But at some point you'll plateau and you'll feel like, wait, I'm still grateful, but hard things. Keep going.
Yep.
Don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll hit it. I could go on forever. Gratitude is one of, I think, my favorite topics. Gratitude, compassion, forgiveness. These are all topics we'll cover. But this Thanksgiving season, I would encourage everybody as we come to the end of this. If you like what you said, you saw, we appreciate you sticking around. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, share it with those that you love. We're trying our best, but in all honesty, this has become quite therapeutic for me to sit down with you and just talk.
Yeah.
It really has. But this Thanksgiving season and every day of your life, try to put the doubts of the world away. I would encourage that for your happiness. Bring it in.
Yeah.
And see what it does in your life.
And if it's hard to be able to put those things away, maybe try to be the positive for someone else.
And just do that and see what changes in your world.
Yeah.
But like kind of like difference from here and like some people go to the gym so they could get better. They're afraid to go in the gym because they're going to look silly, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude can start in your room.
No
one has to know, but I promise you, if you stick on it, people will see a difference in you.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't hide the gratitude, the light that comes into someone's life.
Yeah, the positivity that exists.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we appreciate every one of you for sticking around.
Absolutely.
And as Dwayne mentioned, follow us on our socials, and we'll see you guys next time on another episode of The Lighter Side of Heavy Things.